Hi, and welcome back to Joy in the Quarantine, verse by verse walk through Philippians, the letter of joy written by St. Paul. Today we're in chapter 3, and we're going to continue on in verses 4 through 7. In verse 3, Paul had just said that we, Christians, put no confidence in our flesh. That's a good thing for a time like this when we're under an epidemic warning. We realize very quickly that our bodies are frail. We are weak. We can't withstand a virus that we've never seen before. We gotta suffer and go through it. Usually, for many people, we have no resistance. Nobody has any resistance to it. A lot of people are in a lot of pain because of a bug, a tiny little germ that we can't even see. We don't have confidence in our flesh. Our confidence comes from somewhere else. But Paul says in these verses 4 through 7, if you want to play that game, if you want to play the confidence in the flesh game, let's just start walking down that path and see where it leads. Here's what he says. Put no confidence in the flesh, verse 4. Though I myself have reasons for such confidence. If someone else thinks they have reasons to put confidence in the flesh, I have more. Circumcised on the 8th day, of the people of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of Hebrews, in regard to the law, a Pharisee, as for zeal, persecuting the church, as for righteousness based on the law, faultless. But whatever were gains to me, I now consider loss for the sake of Christ. Paul says, I'm not going to play that game. More than just humoring you a little bit. He points out that he outmatches anyone who thinks, well, I'm a pretty good person. I try to do my best. He dedicated his life to being the best person that he could. To climbing the ladder and looking good. A lot of the things that he mentions were things that he couldn't even control. They really were just built into his flesh when he was born. For example, how his parents were Hebrews and he was a Hebrew. Even though he was raised in Tarsus, far away from Israel, he wasn't raised out among the pagan people. He was raised in a Jewish, godly household who from birth, circumcision, education, were making sure that he knew the language, he knew the scriptures, he knew his religion backwards and forwards. And then as he grew and was educated, not only did he have this in his blood and in his family and his tribe of Benjamin background, but he dedicated his life to being a Pharisee, to being especially set apart, uniquely pure, and trying as hard as you can to follow the law as your full-time job. I don't know what other kind of job you can get to do that. It's certainly not a pastor. We don't get called or hired by a congregation to be a very godly person. We're here to shepherd a flock of people or to equip the saints to go about your life, whether we're there or not. It's not about a pastor, it's about you and about our neighborhood. But for Paul, if you want to look at him as his person, he was out there on fire for the faith, as he saw it, getting rid of a heretical little group that followed this Jesus of Nazareth. He was persecuting that church. Faultless. No one could find blame with him. They'd say, yeah, Paul, Saul of Tarsus, we've got nothing bad to say about him. He's an outstanding citizen, member of his congregation, child, grown-up, Pharisee, you name it. He was great. But, he says, whatever were gains to me, I now consider loss for the sake of Christ. The gains, these are financial terms that he's using. If this was the profit to me, now I'm going to consider it, a write-off. It was a lost, sunk cost that didn't pan out. I was trying to think about for in our situation in this epidemic time, I think it's like maybe a restaurant or a business that had just maybe 2 or 3 months ago just invested heavily in some kind of on-site, maybe say new seating for all their employees, or beautiful new benches in their restaurant and booths, and now they sit unused. And now the restaurant or the company would really like to have that cash back on hand to make it through a tough time, or just would give anything for an upgraded ordering system to place orders over the phone. They can't do that because they thought they had done such a wonderful thing making this other investment, and it went the opposite direction. We wish we hadn't done that, and it's hurting us now because we did that. For Paul, he sees that investing in himself, having confidence in himself, and spending his life and his energy doing things that would build up his confidence in himself was all a total waste, and it was running the wrong direction. What he needed was more Jesus, was more Christ, was more grace. And what he was trying to do was the opposite. He was trying to raise himself up to God's level, and now he realizes that was never going to work. Today, there's your devotional thought. Take it and run with it. Look through these, put yourself in there. Where have you maybe thought you had confidence in yourself because of your family or your upbringing or because of your activities or actions or priorities? Run yourself through that same list, and at the same time come out at the very end saying, if I thought that these were the ways that I got to heaven, or that the reasons for God to like me, it's a loss. For the sake of Christ. For the sake of Christ, we have all we need, and we don't need anything else. We don't need to impress anyone else. We don't even need to impress him. Jesus has impressed us with his grace, and we follow him. Let that be your comfort and your peace for the rest of today. God keep you safe until next time.